Most modern producers are going to have some experience with loops and samples, one shots, whatever. And eventually, we find ourselves wanting to create our own, which then leads us to think, maybe I can sell these. Well, if that's you, you want to be sure to stick around because I'm going to be talking to a good friend of mine, Corey Phillips, aka Colormind, who has started doing just that. Plus, we're going to listen to one of your cues. That's right. We're going to listen to a cue submitted to the Facebook community on this week's 52 Cues podcast. What is happening, everybody? This is Dave Croft, and welcome to the brand new, reinvented 52 Cues podcast, where I'm pulling away from the vlog format where, I kind of talked about things in the industry and then played one of my cues and kind of got into logic and all of that. Those types of things are still happening on my YouTube channel, but they are just, they're just separate videos. The podcast itself is really going to focus on general topics about the industry, interviews, and going over how we can, make a career in production music, which is really what 52 Cues is all about. The concept of 52 Cues, if you're brand new, is from a book by Dan Graham, A Composer's Guide to Library Music, that talks about that if you work on just one publishable track per week, at least one publishable cue per week, then you are well on your way to having a career in production music, in library music. Now, can you have a career with just 52 cues per year? Maybe not. There's a big debate going on over at vi-control.net about that very topic, and it might be a source for a topic in a future podcast episode. But that's what we're doing here at 52 Cues. That's the goal of the Facebook community that you can get to by going to 52cues.com. And that's what this podcast is about, and that's what kind of I'm about, both as a composer and as an educator, helping other composers work towards having a sustainable career making music. And so, I hope you'll join us, and I hope you'll kind of be along for the ride. Now, for today, I wanted to roll an interview that I actually did several months ago. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see my beard's totally different, and it's really kind of funny. But I recorded it, I think last summer, and I just really couldn't find a home for it in last year's 52 Cues format, where I was talking about a topic and then breaking down one of my cues. So I'm going to be rolling this. It is, as I mentioned in the intro bumper, it's an interview with Corey Phillips, aka Colormind. He is a coworker at Full Sail, and he creates his own sample packs. And this is a side of the industry that's super, super interesting to me. It's something that I want to dabble into, and I wanted to talk to him. As much as I wanted to share it with you, I wanted to learn about it myself. And then after the interview, we're doing something new with this year's podcast, and then moving forward, instead of me playing one of my cues, and yes, I'm still writing cues and all of that, but you've had a whole year of hearing my stuff. I thought it would be really, really good to play your stuff. These are cues that were submitted in the Facebook community, and week by week, I'm going to pull a cue from each from those with permission. Of course, I've asked permission, and I've got all this cleared and everything. But playing cues, weekly cues submitted by the community members of the 52 family over at 52cues.com. And this week, we're going to be listening to a cue called Summer Traveler by Michal Sinka. And I hope I'm pronouncing that. I realize I've only read your name. I've never actually said it out loud. Michal Sinka. and it's called Summer Traveler. So you want to be sure to stick around after the interview because I'm going to listen to the cue. I'm going to provide some thoughts on it. It's a really good kind of happy clappy cue for that. But before we get into anything, I absolutely want to give a special word of thanks to my Patreon patrons whose support helps keep this channel going and now keeps the podcast going. Thank you so much. We'll have more about my Patreon at the end of the video. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you can skip ahead to different portions by going to the timestamps in the description below. So, without further ado, here is my interview from last summer with Corey Phillips. I am here with a really good friend of mine, a colleague, a coworker, somebody that is super talented and just kind of flies under the radar. I work with him at Full Sail. He is one of our lab specialists, but I wanted to talk to him today because he is not only a composer and just an all-around amazing dude, but he writes his own and has begun to create his own sample libraries. And this is something that I thought was really interesting. And I thought it'd be really good for us to chat with someone who isn't isn't a big dog, right? Isn't like the Spitfires or the Project Sams or the Embertone, like the guys that have been at it for a really long time and have tons of experience and just are these really big companies. But I am here with Corey Phillips, aka Colormind on YouTube, and Corey has published a brand new sample library that we're going to link to, and this isn't a commercial for that. So I mean, obviously, I'd love to send some business Corey's way, but the reason I wanted to talk to him is because he's just a normal person, just like me and you. He decided to put out his own sample library, and I wanted to talk to him to get his experience in this from the new side of things. Not we've been at it and we have, click funnels and project, all this project managers and a staff of people. It's just one composer in his studio putting out his own sample. So I want to welcome Corey Phillips. Corey, what is happening, my man?
Dave, thank you so much for the intro, man. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, you are. You're one of the good ones, Corey. We work quite a bit together at Full Sail, and I knew you did a few things, and then I saw you working in some other classes, doing some studio stuff, and you just literally, okay, not literally, but figuratively blew me away with just how talented you are. You're easygoing, you're super nice, and then come to find out that you've started writing your own sample libraries. Now, this is something you had kind of dabbled in, but tell me a little bit about kind of your process and your journey coming to creating your own sample packs.
Great, yeah, man. So I guess my journey would be that I've always made music. I love producing artists, and I really just love making music for other people to release, and helping artists bring their idea and their vision to a reality. And a little while ago, maybe, I don't know, I guess a year or two ago, I started thinking, you know what? I have so much just stuff that I've made, like whether it's, random beats that I haven't released, or that it's, songs that I've done with people that maybe didn't quite make it to release or whatever. And I thought, man, I could still put this stuff out. Other people could use this stuff, whether it's guitar recordings, MIDI files from piano, synth lines, bass lines. Other people could make their own music with this stuff. And so that's really what led me to putting out sample packs.
Now, are you releasing sample packs? Or are they contact instruments? Just so we kind of understand.
Sure. Yeah. So right now they're just sample packs, just okay. WAV files. What I would like to get into doing more contact sample libraries and things like that.
Yeah, but sample packs kind of gives everybody maximum flexibility. They can bring them into their own samplers if they want to do that. But they're just they're WAV files that folks can use just right out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love doing that because right now, it's just like so natural to me. That's what I've always done. Just like, you make music, you bounce wave files, you have like bounce folders, file folders, things like that. So really all I'm doing is just the same thing I've been doing for years. But just, you know, letting other, not just artists make music, but also producers as well, helping them flesh out their ideas and make it a reality as well, which is really rewarding.
Yeah, and talking to a listener or viewer who would be maybe interested in this, what were some things that you learned and maybe are still in the process of learning because this is so fresh and this is like your real first kind of big sample pack? What were some of the things that you know now that you wish maybe, hey, I could go back and tell past Corey, do this, don't do this, or what were some challenges that came up?
That's a great question. I get recording takes a little bit, but editing takes a lot. Yeah, editing is a lot of the process. It's more of the process than I thought it would be. Just making everything like, that people are gonna. It's not like you're doing a guitar and it's going to be in a song, so it's going to have other instruments and production and vocal over it. No, like everyone's going to hear just this guitar. Like,
So it has to be a clean recording, and it has to like all the audio tails, that type of editing. That's what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly. And it has to be loopable as well. And people need to know, where they can loop it, because I don't want to assume that everyone is super professional, where they can, they know how to manipulate audio very easily. A lot of people don't yet. So making things that are easily workable enough for the novice is somewhat important to me. So just making sure that everything is very clear cut, loopable. And when I say loopable, I mean like you can, it's easy to take audio and maybe just duplicate it and it like flows right through, things like that. So yeah, editing is a huge part of it, much more than I thought it would be.
So you wish you could go tell past Corey, younger Corey, hey buddy, just to settle in, the editing is going to take a while.
Yeah. Younger Corey by a few months. Yeah, I wish I could go back and just tell him like, hey man, just create time for that, because I didn't expect for it to take as long as it did. So the sample pack actually was postponed a bit so that I could, have the time to edit everything.
Now, is it something that like knowing how talented you are across the board, not just as a performer but also an engineer,
I
is it
appreciate
something
it.
that perhaps if somebody's listening or watching this, that they maybe partner with somebody, maybe I don't know, go in? Is that something that you explored? Like, hey man, I'm way in over my head, and I'm going to bring in some help.
That's a fantastic question. Yeah, definitely partner with someone. I partnered with two people. A lot of the guitar is played by Matt Morgan. He was a student, who's a student of mine, and I think a student of yours as well. And amazing guitar player, amazing singer, musician. He's toured with big bands and things like that. He played a lot of the guitar, and I played some of it, but he played most of it. So he would, come to my studio, I'd record him. And then, yeah, that's how we did it. And then, so I edited everything together. He sat in on some of that, which was really cool. Made the process a little bit funner.
Gotcha.
And then, Mark Berry, mixed everything. So basically, EQ'd compression, things like that, so that I didn't have to worry so much about that. So yeah, I'd say teamwork is a huge part of it. If I had to do everything alone, so playing the guitar, recording myself, editing it all, that's a tongue twister,
Yeah.
and then mixing it would have taken a lot longer. and I think I would have been sick of the process by the time I
Right.
was.
Yeah. You get to the end of editing, hundreds of wave files, and you're just like, man, we're done. I have been robbed of the passion of this. Yeah, I
Yes,
totally.
exactly.
Because you are, so relatively new at this. I'm assuming you don't have a studio full of, $3,000 Earthwork mics or Neumanns and all that stuff. So tell me about the tools, because I think it's really encouraging. One of the things that my channel and everything is all about is, just trying to be real and authentic with people and transparent. And the fact that you don't have to get a certain amount of equipment, certain number of sample libraries. You don't have to wait until you reach some arbitrary gear list, success number or whatever before you can start moving forward in your career. So I'm assuming you're not rolling with thousands and thousands of dollars microphones and a pristine recording environment. So tell me a little bit about the equipment that you're using when you're doing your recordings, and tell me about a little bit of your environment and what you did to kind of overcome some of the limitations of that equipment.
Awesome. Well, you assumed correctly. I used this mic, which is a Neumann TLM 103. I love this thing. But yeah, I just used one mic. I sat Matt on a stool and just put the mic up against him, or not up against him, but face the mic on the guitar. I actually did it here, just behind me. So it was all, completely in-house. And yeah, we rocked out. We would sit here just like, hey, yeah, what's something else? And he would play on the guitar and I would play around a little bit. I might make a drum beat and he would start playing to it and we'd be like, yep, let's record that. And so that was like a really fun part of it. I love just jamming out, just making new music. And that's really what we were doing. It felt like a songwriting session pretty much, or a jam session. It was awesome. But yeah, just one mic. And then, yeah, I used my Apollo Mini, and yeah, it was like a home recording.
What's your DAW of choice these days?
Ableton Live.
Ableton. What? It's interesting. Is that your EDM kind of production background kind of coming through, or because you don't hear a lot of composers using Ableton? At least I don't hear a lot. Usually it's Cubase, Logic, Pro Tools, a little bit of Studio One, but Ableton seems to be the domain of electronic music artists. So tell me a little bit about that choice.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that before. That might be coming from EDM. I was when I was younger, I started in Pro Tools, so I would like record from my Korg Triton, just audio into Pro Tools. This is before I knew what EQ was, so I was just, everything was a guess pretty much. And then I went into Ableton, and I loved it. I learned how to mix. I learned, how to record properly. So Ableton was like, I've been working with Ableton for a long time. I did switch to Logic for a few years because people I was working with were using Logic. It was easier to send files back and forth. And then, yeah, I switched back to Ableton because eventually I was just like, I love the workflow. It keeps me creative. Like the way you can stack plugins and like, with macro parameters and things like that. It's just like you can get so creative with the routing and the sound design and stuff like that. So that's just the DAW that I'm most comfortable with. So I decided, I'll just record in live. And
man, it goes to show you that ultimately the DAW doesn't matter. The DAW doesn't matter. Just like if you give a professional musician, a $300, like a saxophone player, if you give a professional saxophone player a $300 horn or $1,000 horn, they're still going to sound like a professional player, right?
Exactly.
And you're only as good as the DAW and the DAW is only as good as well as you know it. So if you know your way around it, then yeah, I never really understood like these producers who were so like gung ho on one tool of choice to the detriment of everything else. Like if you're not Pro Tools, whatever. And so I think it's cool. I think it's great that that you're into Ableton. Now, your collaborators, are they using Ableton as well, or do you have to kind of work around with some of their DAW choices?
Some of them do. It was easy. It was an easy transfer with Mark because Mark uses Ableton as well. He uses Ableton
Right.
and Pro Tools, but he mostly mixes and masters in Ableton, I believe. So that was definitely an advantage there.
Okay.
But a lot of times when I'm working with people who don't use Ableton, we just send stems back and forth. We just send wave files, and
Gotcha.
when they're labeled properly, everything's very coordinated and easy to just drag and drop into a session or import. Then using different DAWs really isn't a problem.
So you said labeled correctly, which leads me to my next question. When you're creating sample packs or something that is intended to be used by other people, maybe in a marketplace or for sale or whatever, I mean, attention to detail is paramount, isn't it? Otherwise, it's not going to make sense for people to use. And tell me a little bit about that process and switching gears from the creative brain to kind of the the editor brain. Tell me a little bit about that for you. Was that a challenge?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good point. The just going through, I've gone through it so many times, through everything in the sample pack and just made sure that everything was labeled properly. Even the descriptions. I mean, it's challenge. That was a challenge, to label things so that people know exactly what they are. So like if you have the way the sample pack works is you'll have a folder. It'll be a certain BPM, a certain key, and you'll have anywhere from 2 to 5 samples of guitar that you can just drag into your session, and stacked on top of each other, they all work together. So you can solo one, you can just take one, you can just take a couple, but just labeling them so that whoever it is opening the pack for the first time knows what each guitar is. So I'll put like guitar lead, guitar pluck, guitar, chords, whatever. And sometimes it's like, I don't really know what to call this. Actually, a lot of times it was that. So I was like, guitar pluck, guitar something. So just to give the listener an idea of what they're about to hear.
Nice, really nice. So let's talk about the business side of things, and because you're looking to get your sample pack into certain marketplaces, are some of those? How has that gone for you, and have you been able to get these new sample libraries in some of those marketplaces? And if so, which ones? And if not, which ones are you shooting for?
So that's I love talking about this part. So what I've been doing is over the last, I'd say, almost 2 years. Yeah, almost 2 years. So I got a book by Russell Brunson, the owner and founder of ClickFunnels. It's called .com Secrets. .com Secrets, and what he talks about is basically just how to make a sales funnel. And of course, he's it's pretty much an advertisement for his company, but he gives a lot of amazing info in there and stuff that just opened my eyes to so many things. So what it goes through sort of is like, hey, you have a funnel or a product ladder, whatever you want to call it, and if you offer something up for free, a lot of times like a free sample or something like that, you can start to build your a list of people. So I have an email list that I've chosen to create. So about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I created a YouTube video. I created a free guitar sample pack. So all it is just power chords. And I made a YouTube video of basically me just making a beat with that pack. And the first thing I mentioned in the video is, hey, the link below, you can download this. It's free. You can use it for whatever. It's not copyrighted. So no tricks there. And so I get every day, I get people around the world downloading this free sample pack and they give me their email in exchange. So now I know, okay, these people are interested in sample packs. And actually, that's one of the things that really got me into sample packs as well, because I made that and I really did just sort of did it to try it. And it has worked really well. So now I have this email list that's, growing every day of people around the world who are interested in sample packs. So what I really want to do, my main goal is to be able to serve these people, but also I have lots of students and coworkers and colleagues and people who I work with.
I'm one.
What'd you say?
I said I'm one of them.
You're one of them.
Really
yeah.
Interested in what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would love to just create this platform where like people can, hey, Corey, I have this sample pack, or I have these things that I made. Can we, create a sample pack out of it? And I say, yeah. And then we put it up. We split the proceeds, and, just everyone's doing well. I would like to help other creators, musicians, producers, artists, do well in their career, and by providing just another stream of income for people. So that's
now. So did it start out as a did you set out to like create a new revenue stream, or is this just, hey, I'm going to throw it out there, see what happens, and then you kind of dawned on, wow, there's a business model underneath all of this?
I think a little bit of both. That's a good question. I think it was more trial and error. I more wanted to see, hey, are people interested in this? Like if I made a free guitar pack, I think I made that first. And then I thought, oh, okay, I'm reading here that you can just sort of give things out and then collect info from people if they're willing to give it. And, then you can market more to those people. So yeah, I think actually I made it, and then it just sort of like, I was like, maybe this, let me see if people are interested. And then it sort of became like, oh, all right, I think we might have something here.
Right on, right on. So I want to point people, if you're watching, I want to point people to where they can go to find out more about you. So hit me up with some websites and your YouTube channel and your socials and all of that.
Great. So my website is CoreyPhillips.com. And you can just go to sample packs there. I also have beat packs there as well for artists that I sell. My YouTube is, if you just type in Colormind, that's one word, that should take you to there. And yeah, that's where I put a lot of my beats. I have some tutorial videos as well. I'm going to be working on more of those in the very near future. Actually, I've already started. And that's where I also just make beats with the sample packs that I've made, and, show people what you can do with those.
All right, enough talking about it, Corey. I would love to listen to some of it. So I've got a demo from your contemporary pop guitar. This is available at, where can they find this?
They can find this at my website, CoreyPhillips.com.
All right,
under sample packs.
Right on. Let's take a listen. Corey, that sounds amazing. Really, really well done. Now, is that a track you produced?
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Dave. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's so I just took the guitar samples, I sped them up, and yeah, just put some cool effects, and yeah, so I made that track with the guitar samples.
Very, very, very cool. And as we mentioned, you can find this at CoreyPhillips.com. And I promise you, this isn't a big giant commercial. I'm not really trying to get you to buy this, or if you do, awesome. But it's like, how much is it? Like $5?
Yeah, it's $5
$5, $5.
for 20
Um,
folders of multiple samples of guitars in
right,
each.
right. And the takeaway, I think, for anybody watching this is that this is absolutely doable for you, whether you want to turn it into a business model or not. I wanted to talk to Corey because he's a muggle, just like me and you, right? We're not sitting in our Hollywood $50,000 studio. We're just working composers, and I love calling attention to working composers providing tools for other working composers. You've heard me talk about the unfinished all throughout my channel. And Corey, I think you're onto something really, really good here. And I appreciate you joining me today, taking a little bit of time. We mentioned CoreyPhillips.com, but where else can folks find you around the internet?
So there's my website, CoreyPhillips.com. There's my YouTube, which is Colormind. As you said, Dave, that's the producer name that I go under. So
Gotcha.
Colormind on YouTube and Colormind Music on Instagram.
All right. Is that just COLORMIND? No fancy, no British spelling or anything like that.
Right.
Very, very cool. Well, Corey, man, thank you so much for joining me and for taking the time out of your day. And I wish you all of the success that I know such a genuine, cool dude like yourself deserves. And yeah, if folks want to reach out, you can follow him on the socials and hit up his YouTube channel. All of the links will be in the description below. And I would like to take us out today by playing a demo from your guitar power chord sample pack. And this is a track called You Heard. So thanks, Corey. Really, really appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate you too. Thanks for having me.
Once again, I want to thank Corey for sitting down with me and sharing his journey. I'm really, really excited and inspired, and it gives me a ton of ideas. If you want to find out more from Corey, about Corey, and are interested even in some of his sample packs, be sure to check out the links, which are going to be in the show notes or the description below. Let's change gears a little bit, and this would be the time usually, for last year where I would play one of my cues and do a cue breakdown. But like I mentioned at the top of the show, I want to try something new, which is instead of playing my music, I want to feature your music. So taking a cue submitted over at the 52 Cues Facebook group, which you can get to by going to 52cues.com. And every week we post a weekly thread, and folks submit. And they submit their ideas and they submit their cues. And I am going to select one of these with their permission, one of these every week, and talk about it, share it here, give some thoughts with from a production music kind of library mindset. And man, we'll see how this goes. But I think it's really, really, really good to share and to feature your music because this whole thing is, is about helping each other. So we're going to be listening to a cue from a guitarist, producer, and one of the early members of 52 Cues, Michael Zinka. And this is a cue called Summer Traveler. And it is a happy, clappy, upbeat cue. We're going to take a listen. And as we go, I'm going to provide some thoughts kind of in real time. But here is Summer Traveler. Setting the mood off perfectly here. I like the layering. Was not expecting the halftime groove. As I've come to expect from Michael's playing, just expert like guitar work. Ooh, nice harmonic motion there. Great edit point. Feels like the energy kind of pulls back a little here, and I think it's from handing off the melody to the piano. I think if you're going to hand off the melody to an instrument which is a little less, I don't want to say aggressive, but it's just a little less transient, I guess, you might be able to get away with doubling up the percussion there, going to the double time. So it'd be something like this. Whoops. 2, 3, 4. And do like a train beat. It doesn't have to be really, but you trade off adding more rhythmic energy, and then that way the melodic energy doesn't seem to kind of pull back. Because it looks like we have a breakdown coming up, and we definitely don't want the energy to subside. We want to be pushing energy into that breakdown. A really nice harmonic motion there. Ooh, something felt weird about that little spot right there. Yeah, was that? Yeah, is this a 3/4 bar here? No, it's a 2/4 bar. 1, 2, 1. Yeah, I don't think you need a 2/4 bar there, especially since earlier we had 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, that's a nice round number. And so we don't want to pull any kind of metric shenanigans. Yeah, I would keep that a 4 beat break. Nice. Nice. Yes. Into the chord change. Again, I like that harmonic motion. Right. Really nice work. And I appreciate you submitting this. It's hard to go wrong. It's hard to go wrong with happy, clappy cues. And is that uke at the top? Yeah, it sounds like uke, or it sounds really bright. And so I would EQ that a little bit duller so it really sits into uke space, and I think could help separate the strumming from the melody as far as just the transients and the mix a little bit. Or it might be a guitar capoed. It's hard to say, but I would make it a little boxier to make it to really like, hey, this is a ukulele. It's not this kind of in between thing. But thank you, Michael, so much for submitting that, and thank you for being such a long time supporter of 52 Cues and for consistently participating. If you would like to have your cue featured here on the 52 Cues podcast, be sure to check out the Facebook group and add to the weekly feedback thread. We're collecting cues for week 2, and every Monday we post the next week. But that's going to do it for me. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what you think in the comments below or over at 52cues.com. I absolutely want to hear from you. If you ever have any questions, comments, suggestions, rants, whatever, I'm all ears. But thank you so much for your support. And speaking of support, I would be remiss if I did not thank my Patreon patrons whose support helps keep this channel going. To be a patron, it's just $1 a month, and patrons have access to my weekly music production live streams. We just had one last night. We were working up a funky sample-based hip-hop cue, and last year we wrote together 35 cues, and they have access to all of those archives. So if you want to see the production process, or if you just want to support the channel, then you can head over to patreon.com/Dave Croft and check that out. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. You don't even have to subscribe, even though that helps. But if you just want to come and receive, that's totally okay too. But I want to thank you once again for watching. Would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for me. Until next time, peace.